almost everybody was expecting that to be a one-sided game. But the way you played and the way team played, that was phenomenal.
Yeah, that was. It's going to be hard to etch that out of my memory for the rest of my life. I think it was. The whole day was perfect.
Over the years, we have seen a lot of cricketers and commentators saying that if you want to play at the highest level, then you need three T's. One is talent, of course. The other one is technique. But the most important one is, of course, temperament. And guess what? Our today's guest defines all three of them beautifully. Having played 18 one-day internationals and 20 T20Is, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to welcome my next guest on the show, Mr. Anshuman Rath. Welcome, Anshuman. It's been a pleasure to have you on show. How are you? How is quarantine treating you?
Yeah, it's good. Hi, Vedant. In Mumbai at the moment, was training, but then unfortunately got stuck here. It's all good. Trying to keep spirits high, trying to stay fit, trying to do everything right, and trying to get through this difficult period like us all.
Yeah, of course. So, Anshuman, we will try to just discover your life once again. And if I had to sum up in a few words, I would have said that an Indian passport guy who was born in Hong Kong, brought up in UK, came back, played for Hong Kong, and now is in India. Isn't it wrong?
It's unique, I would say.
Yeah.
You know, my story isn't exactly like everyone else's. It's a bit different in the sense that you know, it was very hard for me to find an identity. You know, obviously being born through an Indian family, raised in Hong Kong, and then shifted off to the UK when I was 13, 14. Certainly had its challenges. And, you know, I'm just glad that I could find a footing in India. Unfortunately, the UK thing didn't work out for me due to technical reasons, I would say. But, you know, I'm just happy to be here and happy to give my all.
So, Anshuman, let's start with how cricket happened to you. So, when was the time when you actually realized that, yes, I belong to cricket or cricket belongs to me?
Well, when I was about 5 or 6, I think, was when India went to the finals of the World Cup back in 2003. For me, that was really the start of the love for the game. You know, before that, I hadn't really had any interest in it, but watching, you know, the crowd, the whole nation technically get behind the Indian team going all the way to the final, you know, the way Ganguly led and marshaled his troops. You know, it was a young Indian side at the time, and that was really motivational for me. You know, ever since then, I've just been addicted to cricket, you can say. Playing with my friends in the park, you know, your traditional story, just like everyone else's, you know, you go down, all you can think of is cricket, you know, you're playing for hours and hours with your friends during the summer. You know, mine was no different to all the other players. Where it started changing was when I went to the UK. That's when I realized that this hobby could become a career. And, you know, that realization really motivated me to work on all aspects of the game rather than just the skill set. And I'm very grateful towards that. No problem.
Yeah. So when you were playing for Middlesex, what exactly do you think which eventually helped you or rather taught you during this career?
When I was in the UK, the one thing that did, you know, I still hold dear is the mental side of the game. I think the way that I was taught to look at the game in different versions and different ways was amazing, and that's something that I still use to this day. You know, the way they got me thinking at a young age, and you know, try to talk cricket was really good. You know, when we're young, we're very influential, and you know, Middlesex did a tremendous job in trying to get my own identity and get my own ideas and thoughts on the board. And you know, we would just, some sessions we'd spend, you know, 2 hours just discussing tactics and cricket and just, you know, talking cricket, and it was amazing. You know, certainly the work ethic that I got from them was something that I really believe that helped me along these years. mainly because, I had to work my nuts off to sort of catch up to everyone. I moved there when I was 14. You already had, players on the England pathway, at youth cricket and stuff, and I was competing with them, a fish out of water. I remember my first year at Middlesex in under 14s, I scored 15 runs in about 4 games, which, that was, for me, that was such a scary moment because I thought that was it done. Why would they invest in someone who scored 15 runs in 4 matches? Not only that, someone who's an outsider. So that really, really scared me. And I just thought, you know what, let's just stop and there's no point. But, credit goes to them, and they saw something in me, and they put me on the winter program, and I knew I had to work my nuts off to catch up to everyone. And I did. And, that's something that I realized, that as long as I put in the work, everything else will fall into place. As long as I work smart, not hard, everything will fall into place. I realized that half an hour of good quality training is better than 2 hours of nonsense training, and stuff like that. They taught me really well, and that's something that I still hold very dear in my cricketing journey.
So Anshuman, you rightly mentioned the word work ethics. So there would be so many cricketers in Hong Kong who would have started looking up to you because you have played with Middlesex. So how did you transfer your learning to them?
I think it's all about, I've always been a firm believer of leading by example. I think players will start to follow you when you do things right. I'm a big believer of action speaks louder than words. So, a lot of the younger generation, by younger generation, I mean like 3-4 years younger than me, back in Hong Kong, they sort of saw my journey and they saw my success with Hong Kong and with Middlesex, and that sparked something in them to want to go and achieve the same thing. And the more youngsters that I can help, then I'm more than happy to. So I've still got some youngsters back in Hong Kong who are giving me calls and texting me every now and again on help, and I'm more than willing to help them. The more we discuss cricket, the more they learn, and also the more I learn, from how cricket is seen from others' point of view, not just my own. And for me, it's been a great learning tool as well, because I am only 22, so to sort of take players under their wing is, I wouldn't say challenging, but I would say it's something new. And and I'm more than happy to see other players succeed, especially the younger generation.
You're already 22, and at 20, you played a game with almost every Indian journalist, remember. Let me tell you, in 2018 Asia Cup, even I was there. I was watching that game, and almost every journalist was discussing the same thing, that when will Anshuman get out? Because you were playing fascinating innings, that I must say that.
Thank you.
Tell us a little about that game, because India versus Hong Kong, almost everybody was expecting that to be a one-sided game. But the way you played and the way team played, that was phenomenal. So tell us a little about that.
Yeah, that was... it's going to be hard to etch that out of my memory for the rest of my life. I think it was... The whole day was perfect. Breakfast was amazing. Our team meeting before was amazing. Everything was just clicking. What would have made it a perfect day is if we would have got 26 more runs. But, if you told me at the end of the day that we'd come that close, I would have taken that. But no, it was really good. I think going into that tournament, I think we didn't have as much pressure as the other teams. In our group was the mighty India and Pakistan, and everybody was hyping about that game. And they sort of written us off already. Against Pakistan, I think there were a lot of nerves going into that game. Asia Cup, big stage, all of that. But after that game, we kind of, got a taste of how cricket's going to be like. I would say we were underprepared for that tournament. We went to the Asia Cup qualifiers, and we played amazingly well to beat some very good teams under pressure. Was very good from the boys, but this is another ocean. You've really got to start from game one and start again. And I don't think we were expecting that. I don't think we were ready for that first game. After that first game, when we lost to Pakistan, we sort of had a couple of team meetings, and credit goes to the boys as well. They were all smiles. It's very easy for others to sort of start frowning and moping and saying, oh, we're embarrassing ourselves, blah blah blah. But credit goes to them, and they really loved being in this position. And going into that India game, I just said, lads, we've got no pressure at all. Let's just go out there with a smile on our faces and just enjoy the moment and occasion. Let's play fearless cricket. And winning the toss and bowling first, I did get a lot of raised eyebrows in a 45-degree Dubai sauna. But I always thought that bowling was our strength, and I thought that we would take a lot of confidence going into that if we would have bowled first. And amazingly, we restricted India to 47 runs in the last 10 overs, when they should have got about 340, 350. So I thought it's amazing from the guys again. And I thought momentum was with us. Me and our head coach Simon Cook made a tactical decision to send Nazakat up opening with me before he was batting at 4. But in the Asia Cup final, in the qualifiers final, we sent him up to open because it was a restricted game. It was a 23-over game due to rain. And he got us off to an absolute flyer and really took a lot of pressure off me, because given our history, it was always one down after 6 or 7 overs. And, that would put pressure on the other batsmen and me especially, meaning that I had to dig in. So we had basically, before the Asia Cup, we'd just given Nazakat the all clear. Go out there, play like it's a T20 match. Just literally play fearless cricket. We've got nothing to lose, because even when he was batting at 4, he wasn't scoring that many runs. And momentum was with us. And I took him aside before we walked out to bat, and I said, look, Kat, we can really hurt them, okay? Just play fearless cricket. Don't even think about the scoreboard. Don't even think about the chase. Don't even think about who's bowling at you, what team you're playing against, if it's on TV, who's watching, the crowd. Don't think about anything. Just focus on the ball and we'll be fine. And, credit goes to him. And, he got us off to a flyer, which made me get settled. And I was able to construct the chase while he kept the tempo going, and I was able to dictate and construct from the other end. And it was a fantastic partnership. And 174 runs later, we resisted India for 174 runs. And I think not many partnerships have been that high, especially against India in the recent history. So unfortunately, it wasn't meant to be, but that's something that nobody can take away from me.
Absolutely, and you will not believe there was one question in the rapid fire round about 174, but since you have answered it, I'll give it to you. All right.
I think it'd be a bit poor if I didn't know that.
It's perfectly fine. So you talked about nothing to lose. And as far as I remember, that was the last game before you guys had to start from zero again, because the ODI status was going. So what was the mindset of the team? Because it's very difficult for somebody who is playing at the international level, knowing the fact that this will be my last game before you'll be starting from zero. So what was going in the team meeting?
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't understand the pressures that go on in associate cricket. I think, India have a bilateral series against Sri Lanka. They lose the first 2 games, doesn't matter. They can come back and win 3-2. In associate cricket, you lose 1 game, and that's funding on the line, that's contracts on the line, that's players' futures on the line. There's a lot riding on it, and it was a bittersweet feeling, because that was the last ODI we have played. And if you look at other teams around the world, associate nations who have succeeded, they've all been able to fail at the highest level. They were always allowed to fail at the highest level. Take Afghanistan, for example. They went through an array of matches where they didn't really score a lot of runs. They were sort of bowled out for 150, 160 on decent decks. One upsetting teams, but having the odd good performance and stuff. But they were backed heavily. And, their players were solely focused on cricket. And they started roping in coaches. They started getting facilities in. They started working hard in the gym. and now look at them.
Yeah.
Now they're easily in the top 8 nations in the world, and
Yeah.
we're talking about a span of 5-6 years where they've turned this around, and there are so many other associate teams who can do that. You look at us back in 2018, we nearly upset India. You look at Scotland, who beat England back in 2018. Full England side. You had Plunkett, Rashid, Ali, Morgan, Root, Roy, Bairstow, Mark Wood. That's a full England side, and Scotland beat them.
Yeah.
And you look at the Dutch, they've beaten England twice. You look at Ireland, they've obviously had their fair share of upsets. So all of these teams are there. You look at Canada as well. They were very good at one stage. Kenya went to the semi-finals of an ICC World Cup. Had it been managed right, I think there would have been a lot of good cricketers and good countries competing. It wouldn't have just been the big three at the moment. But saying that, I think the ICC have recognized and realized and are trying to sort of work around it. But the pressure is immense, and again, it was a massive bittersweet feeling to know that our ODI status, was taken away from us, because of our poor performances in Zimbabwe 6 months before. It was very bittersweet for all of us. But that was sort of a wake-up call for me that if I do want to make it a career, then I need to go somewhere else. That definitely was a wake-up call for me. You look at my career path in England was charted where it would lead to international cricket. Obviously, it would depend on what I had scored, but if I'd performed. But the chart was there, and the progression and the road was clear. Whereas that was taken away from me, and the road was unclear. Hong Kong only has a certain amount of limit that I can reach. Whereas I wanted to really push myself and risk it. I've never been someone to be shy of working hard, and I want to get out of my comfort zone. I love being out of my comfort zone. I don't want to be comfortable. So for me, that was the realization that I need to give it a go in India. Obviously scoring against India did help a lot with the confidence, but that was definitely the moment where I, sort of a snap just went in my brain, and I just said, okay, it's time to bite the bullet and move on.
Absolutely, because everyone in India remembers that 73 of 97 deliveries. Nobody can actually forget that. And as we are talking about associate nations, I would want to let you speak a little more about how ICC should move forward with it. Because if you have seen in football, so whenever a World Cup happens, before that, so many teams participate in the qualifier, and then there is a group of teams who actually play. But that hasn't been the case with ICC. When you talk about a World Cup, there are only 10 teams who will compete in a 50-over World Cup game, a tournament. So do you think we require something from the ICC side of it?
Funny you mentioned this. I spoke to someone recently about this. But I think I understand why there's a 10-team World Cup. Logistically, it's a nightmare because cricket takes a full day to finish, and you're renting the ground for a full day. So logistically, I understand why that was done. You've also got a lot of mismatches, and people won't spend 6 hours at a ground for a mismatch. That I completely understand. But if that's the case, then I believe that every team should qualify. Like you mentioned with the football, I think there are too many upsets now that anything can happen. You look at the World Cup qualifiers back in Zimbabwe in 2018, Scotland would have knocked out West Indies, but due to a dodgy LBW decision, they lost, and Duckworth Lewis came into play. I don't know if you saw that LBW decision, but it was one of the worst decisions I've ever seen in my life.
Even I was surprised. I wouldn't mind saying that. I was surprised of how Afghanistan also qualified.
Exactly. We beat Afghanistan we lose to Nepal, Afghanistan go through, have all the results go their way and qualify. So the margin of error is very small, almost too small. And in cricket, we love underdog stories. God, we love underdog stories, don't we?
Yeah.
In sport in general, nobody will forget Ireland beating Pakistan back in 2007. Nobody will forget the Dutch beating England at Lords in the T20. Nobody will forget Bangladesh beating India back in 2007. Nobody will forget these things. They're etched in history, and all of us cricket fans, love it. So I understand the 10-team World Cup, but if that's the case, then I think you should have more qualifiers and more teams qualifying, all the teams qualifying, because I think it's got to a stage where each team, has to earn their spot and their rightful spot in the World Cup, because it's just unfair. I look at that Scotland side and I see a lot of very, very good players, and they beat the World Cup winners. So how can you say that they don't deserve a World Cup spot? I think everyone should deserve a fair shot. But I think the ICC are recognizing this. I don't think it's something that they're ignorant to. I think they are recognizing this. You see, they've opened up the ICC World Cricket League Division 2. Yeah. They've given more teams ODI status. There's now 36 ODIs over 2 years for associates, which is a lot compared to the last cycle. And I think there are, they've given another member, they've given the Dutch team full ODI status, so they'll be playing with India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, and all of them. So I think the ICC are making the right steps forward. You look at the ICC Test Championship as well. It's very exciting to see what's happening. So I think they are making the right steps. And, I don't have all the right answers. None of us do. But I think the ICC are hearing us, which is a good thing, and it's great to see for cricket, because not everyone is just interested in Indian cricket or Australian cricket, or they're interested in all forms of cricket now. A lot of people are tuning in to watch the World Cup qualifiers back in 2019. I believe records were broken for the most amount of viewed in a qualifier. So people are showing interest. People just love cricket now rather than loving their nation, which is a really, really good thing to see.
Yeah. And as you talked about herring, I would want to go a little back and talk about that Harbhajan Singh incident. I would want to just let our users know about it a little.
Yeah, that was so I basically opened my Twitter one day, and a friend of mine tweeted saying, "Bro, you got to see this." And I just said, "What is it?" And he showed me the talk show that Bhaji said, and he said, anyone who hits Kedar Jadhav for 6 off the back foot, I will give them 100 rupees. I think he was talking about his little sly, slingy change up. And I sort of looked at that and I said, hey, hang on a minute. I hit him for 6 when he did that off the back foot. And then I said, yeah, let's have a little bit of fun here. And then I tweeted, I replied and I said, Bhaji, I think you owe me 100 rupees. He hasn't collected it. I haven't collected it yet. He hasn't given it to me. But, I'll be sure to collect that payment, and I'll be sure to frame it right in my apartment for sure.
Hopefully, Bhaji will be seeing this, and eventually you will have the $100 back.
Absolutely. That's going to be framed nicely with a nice plaque underneath saying, Harbhajan Singh always pays his debts.
That's very kind of you. That's very kind of you to say that. Let's talk about your current journey, because you have come back to India. As far as I know, you are currently with the Vidarbha Cricket Association in the club cricket. And as far as I know, as far as my research say, in the debut game, you had smashed 179 unbeaten. And that actually made a mark, and everyone felt that, okay, Anshuman has arrived.
Yeah, it was my second game actually.
Okay.
But yeah, that was moving to India. I wanted to pick unfortunately, it's tough for a 21-year-old. I was 21 at the time. It was tough for a 21-year-old to move to India. People are getting found, and their progression has been charted to Indian cricket at the age of 12. 13. You know, you look at Prithvi Shaw, he was highlighted at 10 in Mumbai. You know, Shubman Gill at the age of 14. All of these guys have been pegged at a very young age. So for me, at the age of 21, to move to India was something that, you know, I just said, okay, I need to pick the right place. I can't just go to any state.
Yeah.
If I was that age, then yes, I could have gone to any state, started again, no problems. Because at the end of the day, merit speaks. But I don't have that luxury. I don't have a year or two to sort of get comfortable in and, you know, them backing me. I don't have that time on my hands. So I spent a lot of man hours thinking and strategizing on where to go. And Vidarbha was the perfect fit. You know, I spoke to Prashant Vaidya and, you know, he flew me out to Nagpur. He showed me the facility at the VCA. You know, the youth cricket is amazing. The coach is very successful, Chandrakant Pandit, even though he's left now, unfortunately. But, you know, I'm sure that whoever Prashant gets next will be someone who is as good. But it was just very impressive to see that the way they ran their cricket, and you know, he just seems like an amazing guy who looks like he will get the job done. You know, unfortunately, I'm sure you're aware that you know, in India there are a lot of empty promises, and he said, you know, he didn't beat around the bush. He just said, plain and simple, you score runs, we'll pick you. You know, we know what you're like. You know, we have a great idea. You put in the hard yards, and we'll give you what you deserve. And for me, that was really good to hear. And you know, it was a no-brainer for me. And I'm sure there are a lot of other associations out like that. But for me, I just felt very at home in Vidarbha the way Prashant made me feel. And you look at all the other players that I've interacted with. You know, the players who have played for Vidarbha, you know, at my club or in and around the club scene, and they've been amazingly polite and nice, and they've been very welcoming and very accustomed, and it's very easy for them to just give me the cold shoulder and to say, who is this new guy? We've worked so hard.
True.
You know, I was a little bit afraid of that, because, you know, I speak Hindi, but my Hindi is not very good. I don't speak any Marathi, so to go into Nagpur, which is a heavily Marathi spoken place, you know, I thought, you know, they're just going to look at me and just be like, who is this guy? But, you know, credit goes to them. And I'm very glad that in the future, hopefully, if selected, that they will be my teammates. And it was a very welcoming reception. And I'm just very much looking forward to wearing that snake on my badge and representing Vidarbha next season, if selected, of course.
Have you tasted oranges yet?
Yes, I have. It's very nice. They make orange barfi as well, which is really, really good. But yeah, I've had sauji as well, which is just incredibly painful on the stomach, and it's so spicy. And especially in the 40-degree heat, I would not recommend it to the faint-hearted. I really wouldn't. It took me a couple of days to get used to that. But yeah, I have tried the oranges, and they're very nice. Very nice.
So you talked about the journey coming to India and how the players have been kind to you. I want to ask something, Anshuman, because we know that so many people are playing cricket almost daily. You talked about Prithvi Shaw, you talked about Shubman Gill. How difficult do you think it will be for you to make a mark and then eventually play the purest form of cricket, that is Test cricket, for India?
Words cannot stress how hard it's going to be. I think everyone is aware of just how impossible it is. You know, you're competing with a billion people, essentially. You know, this is the biggest nation for cricket. It's the best nation for cricket as well as the biggest. So, you know, it's not going to be easy. And I knew that coming into it. I knew that. But again, how could I not at the end of the day? You know, mental strength. You know, you see a lot of cricketers, especially Indian cricketers who are currently in the side. You know, they hit a ball better than anyone I've ever seen. But the application of what to do when and applying this at the right time, you know, I think lacks in the domestic circuit. So that's something that I'm very fortunate to have understood and to have.
Yeah.
And you know, I believe that I could use that to my advantage in India. And you know, I'm not going to leave anything to chance. You know, I see a lot of talented cricketers, you know, have the world of excuses because, you know, they were unfit or they had an injury or whatever, you know. But, you know, I'm not leaving anything like that to chance. And I know it's going to be a Herculean task.
Yeah.
But, you know, I've always prided myself of keeping my long-term goal in my peripheral vision, but
Yeah.
focusing on small goals to reach my long-term goal. So for now, my goal is to just get into that Vidarbha side and cement that position. That is my goal at the moment. I'm not focusing on anything else. I end up getting closer and closer and closer to the ultimate dream, which for me has always been to play Test cricket. That has not changed since the age of 14.
Wow.
So that's how, you know, with a lot of luck, of course, and a lot of backing, hopefully one day that'll happen. But for now, I'm not even thinking about that.
Well, as you talked about the next goal, are you actually looking forward to playing IPL next year?
Yeah, of course. You know, I'd be a fool not to be. There's a lot going into it. Obviously, I have to get picked first.
Yeah.
You know, which is also a big thing in itself, let alone playing, I think. But yeah, it's such an exciting tournament. And, you know, playing in the IPL and succeeding in the IPL does allow you to skip a few steps.
Yeah.
And it's a tremendous benchmark for young cricketers who are hungry, you know. And I am in that category. So for me, it's so exciting, super exciting.
Because we have seen so many, if you have seen Shane Watson, nobody knows Shane Watson, but after how he performed in IPL, if we talk about Paul Valthati or Swapnil Asnotkar, there are so many Indian cricketers and foreign cricketers who have done well. So you are absolutely right on that fact. So say suppose you're picked. So which IPL team you want to play for?
If I'm being honest, whichever one picks me. When I was younger, I was a big fan of MS. So I was a Chennai Super Kings supporter.
Yeah.
But obviously there are rumors and hearsays and little gossip chats saying that he's probably might not play after next year. So again, I'm just happy to play for whichever team picks me. I'm happy to play for them. I think they're all amazing. They've all got great support staff, good owners, great overseas players, good young upcoming talent locally, and I'll be happy to play for any of them. I think it's the biggest tournament in franchise sport, and I think any one of them. If I'm being a little bit greedy, it would be very nice to see Virat Kohli in action. Not just the way he bats, but his captaincy. I think he really brings out the best in players, and you've seen the way he operates when he plays for India.
Yeah.
And he has really set the bar high for the Indian national team. And, you know, I think he would be someone to get the best out of a player like me, I feel. So that would be cool to play under him. But if I'm being honest, anyone. I think they're all really good.
I will take it as Royal Challengers Bangalore.
Yeah, that's fine. But anyway, I'll be happy to play for anyone. I think the kits all the kits are nice, you know. So you know, I'll be happy to play for anyone.
All right. So Anshuman, you are 22, as you said, but you have played for a long time now. If you had to give one advice to the budding talent, what will it be and why?
One advice I would give is train smart, not hard. Definitely. I've definitely been a victim to that, and I can't stress that enough. I would much rather train for half an hour, but that half an hour be very meaningful than train 2 hours without any focus. And I think self-training is not as valuable as people think it is. You know, you're doing underarms with a friend, fine, that's great.
Yeah.
But in order to learn and develop the game, you need a guru. You need a coach. You have to have a coach. And, you know, when I was in Nagpur, especially, I see a lot of cricketers who just think if they put the hours, they'll make it. And that's not the case. You have to be able to develop your game with a coach and train smart, not hard. And I think that's Whether or not you make it in cricket, you know, that just depends on your talent. But
Yeah.
that definitely improves a player massively.
Absolutely. That brings a lot to the table. So my last question before we move to the rapid fire round. You have played 18 one-day international, 20 T20Is. Tell me your fondest memory.
Few come to mind, but I'd probably it's hard to go past that India game, isn't it? I mean, not only to score the runs,
You will
but
not
to
go for that
captain the
100?
Yeah, I wasn't happy, to be honest, when I got out. I was fuming. It was such a nothing ball as well from Kuldeep, and I just chipped it straight to the fielder. I was not a happy man because I was eyeing the 100. You know, I just wanted to keep going. I was enjoying myself so much, you know, and I knew that the only thing that would get me out was myself. It had got past the stage of them getting me out. I knew I wasn't getting them getting me out. I knew that wasn't going to happen. I would get myself out. And when that happened, I was very disappointed in myself because I just said, how could you do that? And how could you throw it away? Because I was enjoying myself so much. But I would say that's probably my fondest memory. I think it's hard to go past that. You know, captaining the nation, you know, you're not just captaining against 11 people, you're captaining against 1 billion. And being of India, being of Indian descent as well, growing up idolizing Indian players, supporting them for the longest time, hearing that national anthem when we all stood for it, you know, it was a very emotional moment for me. And to captain the side as well just made it even better. And you know, we were very fortunate enough to go into the dressing room after and to see you know, the social side of them, you know, the everyday side of them, which was very nice to see. I think you know, people treat them as gods, but it's nice to see that side of them, and you know, they're completely humble and normal, and you know, a joy to talk to. So I think that's also very important to have in the success of a cricketer, and you know, that's the reason why they all play for India, and I think it's amazing. And it's hard to get past that moment. You know, there have been a few memorable ones, but I think it's hard to beat that.
Absolutely. Playing a 50 plus knock against India, it would have been a memorable one. Let's come to a rapid fire round. I will not give you much time for answering. The first question is on your way. Your favorite batsman?
Sangakkara.
All right. Your favorite cuisine?
Chinese.
All right. At what age you made debut for Hong Kong?
I was 14 when I put on the Hong Kong show for the first time. We didn't have ODI status and all that. It was an ACC Emerging Nations tournament, but I was 14 when I debuted for the men's side.
At what age you were made the captain of Hong Kong?
19, 20. I was 20.
Days? Because I have days
you have days as well, okay. So I was captain in August. I was 20. Okay, let's see. November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August. So that's 9 months. Shit, okay. 9 times 3 is 27. 200 and I'd say 290.
Well, that's not the right answer. It's 315 days.
But damn it. Okay.
But the details is right, so I'll give you that anyway.
Yeah.
So, one captain you would want to play under. Is it Virat or is it MS?
See, MS is... I don't think I would have the opportunity to play under MS, so I would say Virat.
All right, my last one. That is one bowler you would want to face in your career.
Sure, that's a tough one actually. I'd like to face Bumrah. I mean, he's the best bowler in the world, so why would you not want to face the best bowler in the world? It'd be a great challenge. So.
Actually face him in the net practice rather than facing as the opposite.
Yeah, I mean, it would be an amazing opportunity to face the best bowler in the world. So,
well,
maybe in the IPL. Maybe in the IPL, you never know.
The IPL, maybe in the nets. Who knows?
Exactly. Who knows?
Yeah. Absolutely. I would say, Anshuman, it was amazing talking to you. There was so much to learn, so much to talk about, but I respect your time. And I wish that you play for Ranji, you play for Vidarbha and Ranji Trophy, you play for India one day and make all of us proud. Thank you so much for taking your time. It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Thanks, Vedant. Pleasure is mine as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Take care. Goodbye.
Cheers.
And
Goodbye.
touch.
Thank you. Stay safe.
Stay safe. So how did cricket happen to you at the first place?
मुझे I have to be there on highest level. ऐसा कुछ नहीं था मेरे दिमाग में. I just wanted to play because मुझे अच्छा लगता था वो सारी games खेलना.